What if anxiety isn't what you think it is? Not overthinking, not stress, not even a mental weakness, but a survival system that got stuck in the on position. Inside your brain, there is a system designed for one purpose only: keep you alive. At the center of that system is a small structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your internal alarm system. Its job is simple: detect danger, fast. But here's the critical part most people never hear. The amygdala does not care about accuracy. It does not analyze context, does not weigh evidence. It only asks one question: could this be a threat? Not is this dangerous? Not is this likely? Just, could it be a threat? And if the answer is maybe, it reacts immediately. Now here's the problem. This system evolved in a world that no longer exists. Your brain was built for survival in a physical environment, where threats were immediate, visible, and external. A predator was either there or it wasn't. You either ran, fought, or survived. Everything was fast, physical, and concrete. But modern life doesn't work that way. There are no predators in your room, but your brain doesn't know that. So it repurposes the same ancient system for modern situations: emails, conversations, social judgment, uncertainty, future outcomes, and most importantly, your own thoughts. Because your brain does not treat imagination as fake. It treats imagination as simulation. If you imagine something vividly enough, your nervous system reacts as if it is happening right now. That's why anxiety can hit you while sitting in complete silence. Nothing is happening externally. But internally, your brain is running simulations. What if I fail? What if I mess this up? What if something goes wrong? And the amygdala doesn't say, that's just a thought. It says, check this. This might matter for survival. The moment that happens, your body reacts before you even consciously process it. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, muscles tighten, attention narrows. This is your sympathetic nervous system activating the fight-or-flight response. And here's the key detail. It happens automatically, not after thinking, forethinking. So by the time you say, why am I feeling anxious? Your body is already inside a survival state. That's why anxiety feels so sudden. It doesn't start in your conscious mind. It starts in prediction. Your brain is constantly forecasting the future. And when that forecast includes uncertainty, rejection, failure, or embarrassment, it doesn't treat it as abstract possibility. It treats it as potential threat. This is where modern anxiety begins, because the brain confuses possible with important and important with dangerous. Once that happens, the body responds as if something is already happening, even when nothing is. This is also why anxiety can show up in completely safe environments. You can be sitting in your room, no danger, no threat, nothing external happening, but internally, a prediction appears. And the body reacts to the prediction, not reality. Now here's where it becomes even more interesting. The more often this system activates, the more sensitive it becomes. Your brain starts lowering the threshold for what counts as danger. At first, it responds to big stressors, but over time, it starts reacting to smaller and smaller signals. A slight change in tone of voice, a random thought, a small physical sensation, even neutral situations that resemble past experiences. Tease like a smoke alarm that used to protect you from real fire, but now goes off when you cook food. Not because it's broken, but because it has learned to overprotect. And overprotection feels exactly like anxiety. Constant alertness, even when nothing is wrong. At this stage, anxiety starts to feel like a background state rather than an occasional reaction. And here's the part that confuses most people. You don't just react to external situations anymore. You start reacting to the anxiety itself. A thought triggers a sensation. The sensation feels unfamiliar. You interpret it as danger. That interpretation creates more sensation, which confirms the original fear. And the loop begins. Thought gives, body gives interpretation, gives more body, gives more fear. At some point, this loop becomes automatic. You don't consciously start it, you just find yourself inside it. That's why anxiety can feel like it comes out of nowhere, because by the time you notice it, multiple systems have already activated beneath awareness. And now, the most important insight, your brain is not reacting to reality anymore. It's reacting to prediction plus interpretation plus memory, not what is happening. But what it thinks might happen, and what it thinks that means. And once this system stabilizes, anxiety stops being a reaction. It becomes a habit of the nervous system, a default state of readiness, not because you are broken, but because your brain has learned one rule extremely well: stay alert just in case. The problem is that just in case never ends. And when that system never turns off, even safety starts to feel uncertain. That is the foundation of anxiety. Not thoughts, not personality, but a survival system that forgot how to stand down. If anxiety is just a survival system stuck in overdrive, then the obvious question is, why doesn't it just stop when nothing bad actually happens? Why does it come back again and again, sometimes even stronger than before? The answer is simple, but not comfortable. Your brain doesn't learn from truth, it learns from patterns. And the strongest pattern in your nervous system isn't what you think, it's what you do when you feel anxiety. Let's break that down. Every time anxiety appears, your brain is running a silent calculation. Did this response help me survive? And it doesn't base the answer on logic, it bases it on outcome. So what do most people do when anxiety hits? They try to fix it. They avoid the situation. They mentally replay everything. They seek reassurance. They overthink to make sure nothing goes wrong. Or they escape the feeling as quickly as possible. And in the moment, it works. The anxiety drops. You feel relief. And that relief feels like success. But neurologically, something very different just happened. Your brain did not learn, I was safe the whole time. It learned, I survived because I got out of it. And that difference is everything. Because the brain is not trying to make you comfortable. It is trying to make you efficient at surviving danger. So next time a similar situation appears, it doesn't wait. It activates earlier, faster, stronger, because now it remembers this might be dangerous. Act sooner. This is how anxiety strengthens itself without any real threat ever needing to exist. Not because the world is more dangerous, but because escape and control were rewarded with relief. And relief is one of the most powerful learning signals in the brain. But avoidance is only one half of the loop. The other half is even more subtle. It's attention. When anxiety appears, most people don't just feel it. They start monitoring it. They check, why am I feeling this? Is it getting worse? What does this mean? Am I okay right now? And the moment you start monitoring your internal state, something important happens. Your attention shifts inward, away from the external world, and toward the threat system itself. But your brain interprets attention as importance. So whatever you focus on repeatedly becomes important data, and if anxiety becomes important data, your brain starts scanning for it more often. This creates a second layer, not just anxiety, but attention to anxiety. And then a third layer appears, fear of anxiety. Now you're no longer just reacting to situations. You're reacting to your own nervous system. At this point, the loop becomes self-sustaining. A thought triggers a sensation. You notice it, you interpret it as meaningful. That interpretation increases arousal, which creates more sensations, which get noticed even faster. And the loop tightens, but there's another layer underneath all of this that makes the system even stickier. Uncertainty. Your brain hates uncertainty more than danger, because danger is clear. Uncertainty is not. So when something is unpredictable social situations, performance, future outcomes, the brain flags it as higher priority, not because it is dangerous, but because it cannot be predicted. And in evolutionary terms, unpredictable meant potential threat nearby. So now modern life becomes a constant trigger. Not because things are harmful, but because they are uncertain. And uncertainty keeps the threat system active. There's one more critical piece. The meaning you assign to anxiety itself. If anxiety feels like danger, then anxiety becomes dangerous. So now the system is no longer just reacting to external events. It's reacting to internal sensations, a slightly faster heartbeat, a tight chest, a shift in breathing. These normal signals get reinterpreted as warnings. And once that happens, your body starts reacting to itself. This is where people often say it comes out of nowhere. But it didn't. It came from prediction, attention, interpretation, and learned response, all happening beneath awareness. So here's the real reason anxiety persists. Not because it is strong, but because it is reinforced again and again by small, automatic behaviors that feel helpful in the moment, but train the brain to stay alert long term. And that leads to the real question. If the brain is learning this pattern automatically, can it learn a different one just as automatically? And if yes, what actually changes the system at its core? Because the goal was never to eliminate anxiety. The goal is to stop feeding the loop that keeps it alive. If this changed the way you see anxiety, don't just move on and forget it. Take a second to reflect on it. If you've ever felt stuck in this loop, comment loop below. You're not alone in this pattern. And if you want more videos that explain how your mind actually works in simple terms, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.